Heyo guys, this is a story about what if Naruto, the melt. As a child, Naruto is taken in by Sarutobi to be his chosen successor to the mantle of Hokage. He develops a bloodline long thought lost to the world and learns along the way that, though he may be hated for his demon, his will of fire will burn brightly. And let's see what changes will come to Naruto verse, but before we start, don't forget to give a like and subscribe to this channel for more what ifs and check the description for the creator of this great fanfic. Now let us start.
Chapter 17. Keeping in contact, and here's Chapter 17. For those of you who haven't guessed yet, I move at a very moderate pace in my storytelling, with short bursts of activity here and there. I see no reason to rush a story and will never have a reason to rush a story. With that said, please enjoy this little tidbit. Readers, reviewers, thank you. Chapter 17. What? Ino blinked and Kiba just stared. Naruto sighed and flopped to the ground unceremoniously. Their training ground would have to do because these two weren't leaving until they had a few more answers. All right, sit down and we'll talk. I don't know why Sensei wants us to do this. Ino sat down gingerly right across from him, lest her behind get bruised. Kiba sat down just as Naruto had, Akamaru jumping into his lap and curling up to take a nap. The camouflage-clad genin looked around for anyone that might be listening and, having found no one, took a deep breath before turning his attention to his teammates. Okay, look, I don't know what you expect me to say here. My ability, as you saw, lets me go into the ground and disappear. You can still hear my voice and I can still interact with you. I can't be seen by either the Sharingan or the Byakugan. I can fool those Dujutsu. But, once I'm back above ground, it's open season again. I can't melt into liquids. I just can't. Probably has something to do with the composition of molecules or something. Ino nodded, barely keeping up, but Kiba's jaw hung somewhat slack. Do what? Naruto pinched the bridge of his nose. He forgot that Kiba didn't know big words. For a moment, he wished that Shino or Shikamaru were on his team. But, then again, Kiba could be taught. You could always teach a dog new tricks. I'm saying that I just can't melt into liquids. It has something to do with my body. I can't go into humans either. Well, we don't know that for certain. Gigi just thinks that it wouldn't do to have me hurt myself or someone else just to find out. I can't really think of anything else. You're next, Ino. Hey, why's she getting to go next? Ino smirked and slipped her hair back over her shoulder. It's called being a gentleman, Kiba. You know, ladies first. The dog boy scoffed and ruffled Akamaru's fur. You're no lady. Before the blonde girl could wrap her hands around Kiba's neck, Naruto appeared behind her and wrapped his arms around her waist. No, Ino. We need him as a teammate. No killing Kiba. Kiba, stop antagonizing her. Oh come on, Naruto. We don't need him. I'll hide the body and we can get a new partner next year. Naruto sighed and plopped her back down where she had been sitting, where she crossed her arms in a huff. Ino, come on. What are your abilities? Well, I'm pretty good with my family's Shintention Jutsu. It allows me to swap my mind into another person's body and take over their actions. The downside is that my body goes limp without a mind in it and I'm helpless. It's pretty much a straight shot jutsu and takes a second to get into their mind. So, I need someone to hold the target or they need to be tied up. I need someone to look after my body as well. She put her finger to her chin, thinking of anything else. I guess beyond that, I don't have much at the moment. Daddy told me he'll train me in the next jutsu once I get better with Shintention, but that might be a while. I know the Academy Taijutsu and the 3 Academy Jutsus. I'm more supportive than anything. My chakra control is pretty good though. Kiba started laughing again and Ino glared at him. Got something to say, mutt? Kiba wiped his eyes and grinned. You know, maybe if you stopped chasing after Sasuke so much, you'd be able to get a little training in. I've seen you fight Ino. Naruto and I could probably beat you with our arms and legs tied up. Ino swung her head to Naruto to find out if he agreed and was somewhat saddened to find his face blank. Naruto, do you think that too? The blonde boy sighed and nodded his head slowly. It's true, Ino. Outside of Hinata, you were the kunoichi with the most promise, but you haven't really shown any. You spend all your energy chasing Sasuke when you could be training or studying. But, I don't chase Sasuke that much. What's the principle behind the Bunshin Jutsu? What color underwear did Sasuke wear last Tuesday? White silk boxers. Naruto and Kiba shuddered and Naruto looked at Ino disapprovingly. I didn't actually expect you to answer that, but, whatever. Look, the point is Ino, Kurenai-sensei told all you girls to be more serious and none of you did. Kiba and I are going to need you to back us up and we can't do that if you have Sasuke on the brain. Ino hung her head and Naruto sighed. He hadn't meant for this to be a bash at her abilities or integrity. He cautiously put a hand on her shoulder and shook her. Ino, we just got accepted as ninjas. We're adults now. We have to be serious about this. We can still have fun and everything, but there's a time and place for it. She remained silent for a moment and then looked up at him with a very pissed look on her face. Just get Dog Boy to talk so we can go home. Okay Ino. Kiba. Kiba was somewhat uneasy now. Joking was definitely not something to do when a female was pissed off. He'd learned that much from his sister and mother. Best thing to do was to give a generalized version of his abilities and retreat to a safer distance. Hopefully, she'd be better tomorrow. Yeah okay. I'm pretty good with my family's jutsus. I can do the Jujin Bunshin and Akamaru and I have started synchronizing pretty well. I'm still attempting to get another family jutsu down at the moment, but I'll keep that under wraps for later. I'm really good at taijutsu, up there with Naruto and Sasuke. Other than that, I don't got much. He turned to Naruto and frowned. I almost forgot. What the hell was that Bunshin today? That thing was able to cast a jutsu. Normal Bunshins can't do that. Ino's head flew up and stared at Naruto, who suddenly felt like he was under scrutiny. That was my Kage Bunshin. It's a solid clone that has its own chakra pathways. Gigi taught it to me as a gift. It's really useful. Can we learn it? It takes a lot of chakra guys. I don't think you have enough. I have a lot of excess chakra so it's easy for me. It splits your chakra in half so I don't think it'd be a good idea for you to learn it yet. Kiba sighed heavily and slumped his shoulders. Bummer. It looked pretty cool. It would have gone great with the jutsu I'm trying to learn. The three sat in uncomfortable silence for a while until Kiba hopped to his feet, Akamaru tumbling from his lap. The puppy got to his feet and growled at Kiba, who looked between his teammates sheepishly. Well, I think we've said all that needs to be said. I'm going home now. I'll see you guys tomorrow. The two blondes waved as he jogged off, Akamaru following him closely. Ino was just about to walk off when a hand closed around her wrist. She followed the arm to its owner and found Naruto. You and I need to talk. If Ino had ever been told that she'd be walking beside the Hokage's grandson on the way to a restaurant to eat, she'd have scoffed and then brained the offending person upside the head. Not that she found Naruto unattractive, but she wanted Sasuke. And if eating with Naruto ruined her chances because Sasuke saw her. Naruto, as if reading her mind, coughed and she cut her eyes toward him. It's not a date Ino. I just want to talk to you over something to eat. I'm starving and I'm sure you're hungry as well. I don't think this'll hurt your chances with Sasuke any more than usual. It better not. I don't want Sasuke-kun thinking I'm unavailable. Naruto sighed. He'd been doing a lot of that day. He opened the door to the restaurant and let Ino walk ahead of him. Her respect for him rose a tiny notch. Not many guys his age would have done that. A waiter showed them to a corner booth that Naruto requested and they settled in after giving drink orders. Naruto had wanted to put off this particular conversation till a later date, but Ino's mood earlier had hastened what had to be said. His team couldn't function if Ino was going to fret about Sasuke all the time. He had thought once upon a time that she was getting better, but apparently she'd had a backslide. The only question was, why? Ino slurped at her water through a straw while Naruto nursed his tea. He didn't really know how to begin this. So, what did you want to talk about? Well, thank goodness Ino was Ino. I wanted to talk to you about you, and our team. Ino raised a delicate eyebrow and was about to ask what he meant when the waiter came over for their orders. Ino ordered a very light salad. Naruto frowned at her order with disdain and ordered a bowl of sweet and sour soup. Ino looked at him quizzically. What? Why did you order a salad? I offered to buy you dinner, not a snack. That is my dinner. I'm on a diet. You're a kunoichi, not a runway model. What do you need to diet for? If you train like you should, calories wouldn't be an issue. I have to look good so Sasuke will notice you. Am I right? Ino, you know he doesn't care about any of you. Her eyes lit up with anger and her palms came down heavily on the table. Don't say those things about Sasuke-kun. He's had a hard life. There are people who've had it harder. Sasuke's life is hard, as you put it, because he wants it to be that way. He could have a caretaker if he wanted one. He could have another family if he so chooses. He doesn't. Ino straightened her back and stared at him haughtily. Yeah, well, no one can ever compare to the Uchiha clan. Naruto narrowed his eyes and Ino sat back a bit. Not many people ever questioned her loyalty to Sasuke. Who can Ino? They were a strong clan, very powerful, but they weren't the strongest ever. Sasuke isn't the greatest thing since sliced bread. Coming from you, I think that's a little biased. The two of you don't get along after all. Naruto fisted his hands in his hair and growled. He wasn't here to talk about Sasuke. He had to get back on track. Look Ino, I'm not here to talk about your wannabe boyfriend. I'm here to talk about you. Things like ordering small portions of food that can't possibly fill you up, stalking Sasuke instead of training, slacking in your studies, those things have to stop. I'll have you know, I'll have you know Ino. I'm not about to watch a teammate die because our team was unprepared as a whole. Sad as it may be, what Kiba said earlier was true. Either of us could take you on and win easily. I want you to think Ino. Think about the Sannin. Any one of them could take on the other and it would be a close fight. I want our team to be like that. We can still have fun, but we're going to have to get serious. She looked down at the tablecloth, weighing his words. It wasn't like her father hadn't ever said those things before, but she had let it roll off as him being a father. Hearing it coming from a teammate however, made it seem a little more real. The waiter, noticing the somber mood, set the bowl and platter down as quietly as possible and told them to enjoy their meal, before scuttling away. Naruto moved his chair back and stood up, walking around the table and put a hand on Ino's shoulder. Ino, I know we're still not the best of friends, but we are teammates now. We have to look out for each other. Sasuke and me may not see eye to eye, but that doesn't mean you and I shouldn't. We need to look out for each other and that starts now. Teammates should know things about each other and we'll need to start hanging out more. Kiba might be a jerk sometimes, but he's our teammate too. She looked up at him and he smiled back at her. Now, I know that salad isn't going to fill you up Ino. I might not be your best friend, but as your teammate I know a few things and I happen to know that you love sweet and sour soup. Eat it. I'll see you tomorrow. She stared at him incredulously. How did you know that? He grinned and turned to walk away, calling back over his shoulder. Information gathering is another of my specialties. Ino watched his back as he left and turned back to the soup and salad. With a smile she pulled the bowl closer and took a sip. Maybe being on a team with those two idiots wouldn't be so bad after all. Even if Kiba was a jerk and Naruto could be a little too serious, they at least were honest to her and wanted to know about her. She finished eating and went to pay the bill, only to hear a swoosh of wind and found Naruto standing next to her, rubbing his head sheepishly. Almost forgot to pay the bill. She blinked as he happily paid the man for a meal he didn't eat and then turned around to face her. He grinned widely and put his right hand before his face, index and middle fingers extended. Oh yeah, don't tell anybody what our team talked about today, okay? We need the element of surprise as much as possible. Our team's abilities need to remain secret. That means don't tell your parents either. She put a hand on her hip and smirked at him as she flipped her ponytail. Does Kiba know that? His eyes widened to impossible levels. Oh crap, I forgot to tell Kiba. With a poof he was gone, leaving a lone blonde girl staring at the spot where he'd been standing. Ino smiled and walked outside to head home. Her life was definitely going to be fun from here on out. She might not be on Sasuke's team, but this one was a close second. She doubted Sakura would actually be able to train with Sasuke blinding her all the time. She rubbed her full tummy and trotted off home, thoroughly satisfied with her first true day as a genin. Kiba had taken his time going home, playing with Akamaru as they went and had run into Shino as he walked home. He laughed as the bug user explained how his test had went. Shino had practically had to bully and threaten Sakura and Sasuke into working with him to fight Kakashi and that hadn't helped. They'd run out of time, leaving a fuming Sasuke, a sad Sakura and an absolutely livid Shino. Not that it showed outside his coat. The knotted eyebrows were a good indicator though. They'd only passed when he had offered to share his bento with Sakura once they'd been given a second chance, and Sasuke had followed suit, after some not so gentle nudging from Shino. His analytical mind had read beneath Kakashi's, underneath the underneath, and he just had to get his teammates to understand. He didn't take kindly to Kiba's needling at having such unsavory teammates and had threatened to neuter his friend if he didn't hush up. Kiba, being the canine he is, whimpered and bade his friend good night and a pleasant tomorrow, before scuttling off toward home. At least his teammates weren't stuck up. His mother had greeted him when he came in the door and Kiba flopped down at the table, excited to tell her about his first day. She'd laughed that he had received Tora as his first mission and practically roared at his story of how Naruto had tried to assign his own mission. She'd affirmed that he had indeed assigned missions to the ninjas for several years, but that had been part of his job. It then came time for him to tell her about the rest of his day and Kiba grinned. "Oh, you'll never believe this, Naruto told us a secret about himself." Tsume nearly froze. Surely Naruto wasn't so reckless that he would tell his brand new teammates his most guarded secret. Before she or Kiba could speak a word, she felt a chakra signature in the air and heard the familiar swoosh as someone shunshined into her house. The sound of flesh clapping over flesh revealed Naruto with a hand over a wide-eyed Kiba's mouth. The hilarity of the situation was not lost on Tsume. Either the boy had excellent luck or the most accurate sense of timing she had ever seen. Kiba began to struggle against his hold until Naruto bent down to whisper in his ear. "Don't tell your mother anything I told you today. It's a huge secret, Kiba, S-class. My Kekkei Genkei isn't something to be spread around. I want it kept a secret. Can you do that?" The brown-haired boy nodded his head and Naruto released his grip on Kiba's mouth. Kiba took a huge gulp of air and glared at his teammate. "Man, Naruto, what was that all about? I hadn't said anything yet. You were going to. Don't say anything about what our team can do to anyone. That takes out the element of surprise. Not even my mom. Especially your mom. She goes drinking with some other Junin and who knows what she might say." Tsume frowned and put her hands on her hip. "I can hear you, Uzumaki. I don't particularly like the slight against my character. You can take down a Chunin, but let's see how you do against a Junin." Naruto grimaced and made his seal to shunshin away subtly as he spoke. You have a very lovely home, Tsume-san. Are those real china plates? Nice try, brat. Come, air." Before Tsume could get around the table, Naruto yelped and was gone. She stopped just short of Kiba, who had thrown his arms up in defense and growled. "I'll get him next time." Kiba lowered his arms slowly and blinked as she went back to chopping up meat for supper. "Hey ma, what was that jutsu?" "That was Shunshin, Kiba. When you get a bit better with your control, I'll teach it to you. Now go practice that jutsu with Akamaru until supper. I'll call you." He was out the door as soon as she said that, with Akamaru bouncing behind him. Naruto stepped out of the swirl of leaves in the family's backyard and sighed heavily. Being on this team would be the death of him, he could feel it already. As soon as he opened the door, he was bowled over and back outside by a missile known as Konohamaru. Naruto looked up dazedly at his younger brother, who sat on his chest with his arms crossed, a pout on his young face. "Ni-san, you're supposed to teach me how to beat Jiji so I can become Hokage. How can you do that when you're never home?" Naruto grunted and sat up, spilling the young boy onto his back. I can't be around all the time anymore. I'm a ninja now. I have other responsibilities." Konohamaru huffed and sat up. "You always have responsibilities. You never have time to play. The only time we ever play is when you have a day off, and those only happen on holidays." Naruto sighed and smiled at his brother. "How would you like to learn a certain Hokage beating Jutsu Ko?" Konohamaru was attentive immediately. Sarutobi sighed heavily as he walked toward the door of his home. He missed having Naruto around the office to shunshin them both home. That had been handy. He'd forgotten how long those walks were at his age. He smiled as he neared the door and jumped back when it flung open to reveal his youngest grandson. "Hey Jiji, check this out. Ni-san taught me a jutsu that could beat you. Ye gods no. Here we go. Waroke no jutsu." With a loud boom, Konohamaru disappeared to be replaced with a very buxom, brown-haired version of Miss September in the Ika Ika calendar. Sarutobi rocketed backwards and landed with a perverted smile on his face. Unfortunately for Konohamaru, Eri happened to be walking by the door at that time. Who the hell are you? Father. Konohamaru. What the hell are you doing, boy? Konohamaru poofed back to his smaller self and cringed under his mother's gaze. I was just beating Gigi with the jutsu Ni-san taught me. Eri's eyes lit up with indignant fury, and before Konohamaru could scamper off, she collared him before shouting upstairs. Uzumaki Naruto. You get your ass down here now. Naruto whimpered and melted through the floor to receive his punishment. Damn little snitching brothers and their whining. The following morning revealed 3 genin headed to their training ground from 3 different directions. They all entered the clearing to their training ground at the same time to see a very upbeat Kurenai smiling at them, and all 3 turned to look at the others. Ino was smiling and actually looked like she had come prepared to do damage today. D-rank missions might be more physically exhausting than anything, but she was prepared to pull her weight, and maybe get another lunch out of Naruto. Kiba could come if he wanted. Free lunches were like crack to Kunoichi. Kiba looked energized and Akamaru was practically bouncing on his head in anticipation. They had gotten a little further along on their family jutsu, and that pleased Kiba supremely. Their third teammate didn't look so good though. Naruto looked haggard and tired, like he'd been through the ringer. His eyes blinked sleepily and he yawned every few moments. Kurenai raised an eyebrow as she bade them to sit before her and snorted when Naruto collapsed like a tree that had been felled. Ino took the time to poke him in the side and he swatted her hand away while moaning. "Leave me alone. I'm sleepy." Kurenai giggled and nudged him with her foot while the other 2 laughed. "And why, pray tell, are you so tired this morning? Have a wild night." Naruto looked up over his stomach long enough to blink at her and his head collapsed back to the ground as he stared blearily at the clouds. "I taught my brother a certain unmentionable jutsu to make Gigi faint and Mom got angry at me. Gigi made me run around Konoha until just before dawn and then told me to come to the training ground." Kurenai quirked an eyebrow and nudged the sleepy genin again. It must have been some jutsu to make the Hokage punish him that bad. "What did you teach your brother?" "Not saying. You'd hurt me too." "Naruto, what did you teach Konohamaru?" He sighed and closed his eyes, opening them slowly. "It took a lot of effort. My Warok no Jutsu." His sensei's eyes narrowed dangerously and he gulped. He was too tired to fight the inevitable hurt that was coming. "Does that entail what I think it does?" "Probably." She nodded her head and looked at the other 2 before returning to him. "Did you learn your lesson? Or do I have to punish you as well?" There was silence for several moments before she realized he was softly snoring. Ino giggled into her hand while Kiba and Akamaru rolled on the ground. Kurenai smiled and bent down to Akamaru's level, patting the puppy's head. "Akamaru, be a dear and wake up Naruto-kun for me." The white puppy yipped and bounded over onto Naruto's chest, licking his face the whole time. Naruto groaned and pushed Akamaru off his chest as he yawned. Okay, I'm up. What are we doing first?" Kurenai laughed quietly at his obvious discomfort. She'd be lucky if he didn't fall asleep on the job. "As always, it's your choice as to what we do first. We can both have a team meeting and improve our teamwork and skills, or we can do a mission first. Your call." Ino and Kiba voted for the mission first and had to jab Naruto in the side to wake him up again. He groggily fell in line behind them as they walked to the Hokage Tower while Kurenai steered him in the right direction. Not the coolest way to start the morning or ask for a mission. Sarutobi took one look at Naruto, smirked, and gave them an easy mission gathering groceries for an elderly couple that lived on the outskirts of the village. Kurenai accepted it with a bow and was about to lead her team out when Kakashi's team appeared behind her. While somewhat mildly surprised that he had been early, she looked at his team, almost as sleepy as Naruto. He'd probably told them to meet him at 4 in the morning. Sasuke was in a bad mood since he had to wake up early and then wait, and Sakura wasn't far behind him. She took one look at the mostly rosy teammate and growled. Naruto, not being very light on his feet, accidentally bumped her as he went past and Sakura raised her fist to hit him. "Stupid idiot. Watch where you're going." Naruto may have been out of it, but his body recognized danger when it saw it. He deftly dodged the blow and wound around behind Sakura, barely registering what he was doing. Luckily, Kiba saw where this was headed and grabbed him around the waist in mid-step and hauled him out the door before anyone could ask any questions, Ino and Kurenai right behind him. Kakashi watched them leave and looked back at his genin. Sakura was shaking with anger, Sasuke looked somewhat pissed, and Shino looked bored. He wondered idly if any of them had noticed that Naruto had dodged that blow and was about to aim a kick at Sakura's head. The Hokage had seen it for sure. The signs were all there. Kurenai had warned him. Uzumaki Naruto was a genin to watch for, even when he was nearly asleep. His money was still on Sasuke when the eventual bout came though. Team 8 finished their mission quickly and with minimal difficulty, once they'd realized Naruto was totally out of it. They'd left him back at the training grounds lying down and returned 2 hours later to find him on his back with a toad perched upon his chest. Kurenai blinked twice and stared at it harder. The little toad looked at them, croaked, and bounced off Naruto's chest and into the bushes. Kurenai sighed and shook the boy awake. Naruto rubbed his eyes and grinned. He felt much better after that nap. Kurenai told Kiba and Ino to spar, light contact only, and sat down next to Naruto. Feeling better? Much. Did I miss anything? Just AD rank. I'll be expecting you to take more responsibility in this team, Naruto. He turned toward her and yawned. What do you mean, sensei? Naruto, every team has a team leader besides the Junin sensei. Ino's bossy enough to do it, Kiba's brash enough to do it, but only you have the true qualities to lead them. I can't be around all the time and you'll need to take direction. Kurenai saw his confused look and decided to explain with more detail. I might be called away on a mission, like I'll explain in a moment. My services are needed above being a sensei after all. I'll need you to take control and keep the ball rolling, so to speak. I'll need you to make sure they still train and keep on track. Naruto looked over as Ino barely dodged a sweep kick from Kiba and cartwheeled away. He sighed and looked at his hands held in his lap. Why do I always have to be the responsible one? Naruto, don't whine. It doesn't become you. All I'm asking is that you keep them on track and be a team leader. That's not so much to ask, is it? He slumped his shoulders in defeat and sighed. No, sensei. Kurenai smiled and called for Ino and Kiba to come over. She knew it wasn't normal to call a training session so early, but she had to do a quick courier mission for an important document to an outlying village. She informed her genin of where she'd be and what they should do the following day before going home to prepare. Kiba said he was going home to practice that jutsu again and bounded off. Ino wanted to wheedle another meal and chat out of Naruto but turned around to find him gone. She huffed in annoyance and headed for home. Looked like she'd be arranging flowers for customer orders again. At the last moment, she decided to go spy on Sasuke. Surely a small peek wouldn't hurt. Naruto, now feeling somewhat energized, was searching for a certain someone. He wanted to know how Hinata's team had done and though he might find her with Choji and Shikamaru at their favorite cloud-watching spot. Sure enough, there the three were, Shikamaru on his back, Choji sitting while stuffing his face, and Hinata with her knees pulled up to her chest, staring out at nothing. It was different from the way his team did things, but as the saying goes, to each his own. Hinata-chan. Hinata heard the familiar voice and turned her head so quickly Naruto thought she'd broken her neck. Her face visibly brightened when she confirmed it was him and stood while brushing the seat of her pants off. Naruto-kun, I'm so happy to see you. He grinned as he jogged up and smirked down at his friends. Choji, lazy ass, troublesome, and happy smacking floated to his ears and he turned back to Hinata. Hinata-chan, I assume you guys passed. Care to tell me how? She nodded and clasped her hands behind her back. We had to find and capture Asuma-sensei. It was somewhat easy once I found his hiding place. Choji herded him toward Shikamaru and Shikamaru captured him in his cage main. We passed without any problems. How about you? I had to give myself up to Anko-sensei so she could drink my blood while Kiba and Ino took on Kurenai-sensei. Why would you do that? Surely you could have all taken her on. I'd rather not traumatize my teammates by unleashing Anko-sensei upon them. Hinata nodded and looked downward to her hands that were now held in front of her. Naruto frowned and remembered what he'd come there for. Oh yeah, I was wondering, Hinata, would you like to go eat with me somewhere? Her face lit up again as she bobbed her head up and down with unbridled glee. Naruto chuckled and led her away toward her favorite tea stand. He didn't see the smirks on Choji's and Shikamaru's faces. Shikamaru turned to his rotund friend and grinned. See, I told you he'd ask her out eventually. It was just a matter of time. Choji smacked on his chips and looked up to the clouds again. You know, she's gonna be spaced out tomorrow. Good thing Asuma-sensei is easygoing. Shikamaru turned his attention back to the clouds and shut his eyes. At least it's not Ino with Sasuke. That would be way too troublesome and annoying. Naruto led a giddy Hinata into her tea stand and ordered a plate of dango and 2 cups of tea. He noted that she had calmed down somewhat and was now smiling shyly. He thought back to what he'd read in a book on relationships one time. First, you had to get to know the girl. Well, he pretty much knew Hinata. Make some small talk. He could do that. He wasn't counting this as a first date, more like information gathering to see if she was interested. He grinned at her and leaned back slightly in his seat. So, let's talk about what we've missed with each other since graduating. I haven't totally made up my mind if I'll do the wave mission or make up something, but I'll probably include it. After all, there are certain situations in the Naruto world that happen regardless of whether or not Naruto grew up with a family or not. Still trying to develop things between characters, and that takes time. Let me know what you think.
Thanks for listening. I hope you guys liked it. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like for more what ifs and support the author. See you guys in the next video.